Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry, coming to you from two socially distant studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide. You can find all of our previous works at heartlandmamas.com, all podcast platforms, on YouTube, and proudly part of the Demcast USA network. And every Tuesday and Thursday, 3 o'clock-ish, here on the Facebook live stream, where you can get the progressive news and views that you can use. So, Marie, today we were talking about this show for the last couple weeks, and I told you I went down a complete bunch of rabbit holes over this one. This power couple is deep and wide, and utterly disgusting, and I don't know how the hell anybody voted for them.
Ready?
Just
Here
saying.
we go. Meet the Millers. Dun,
Meet the Millers. We are the Millers.
Who are the horribles in your neighborhood? In your neighborhood.
Yes.
In your neighborhood.
Definitely people
who
you don't
are
wanna
the
live next
racists
door
in
to.
your neighborhood?
Neighborhood.
Right. Okay, so like you were saying, Heidi, the very first. Okay, so let's start with the wife.
How do you
shall we?
unpack this bag of
It's a
nastiness?
giant bag of
It's a
yuck.
giant
but
bag of crap.
you and I can
And
do this, and I know we
yeah,
can. And when you all hear
yeah.
the connections that we've made, you're going to be like, what? So this was brought to our attention. Of course, the insurrection, Heidi and I covered it at length. We covered the women's groups. We have a series on the rise of women in right wing hate. And as we're working on this, we see Mary Miller deliver a
Yeah.
Nazi quote, a Hitler quote, the day before the insurrection attack, which brought a lot of
On the
attention
floor of
to her and
Congress.
put her on our
On the
radar.
floor of Congress.
So
Talking about co-opting youth.
we
So,
were all very curious about that, and she was there at the rally, and her husband was there, and her husband was mentioned, but it didn't click with Heidi and I completely about who her husband was. So as we began to dig a little more, we looked at Women for America, and which was a Women for Trump, and she spoke at this rally on that night. And then she backed down her Hitler quote, saying, apparently the Miller family is pretty stupid because she didn't know that it was from Hitler or didn't mean it that way. And her husband, who also went to the insurrection and parked his van in front of the Capitol with a 3%er sticker on, didn't know that that it was a 3%er. So they just must
I'm
be
sorry,
really
liars,
oblivious.
liars, pants on fire, because she said Adolf Hitler was correct when she made her quote, so she did know who said it. And his connection to the three percenters goes back for months at least before the insurrection and other paramilitary groups and hate groups before that. And Murray, we talked about when we were in pre-show, we talked about what makes these people tick and how they got to where they are. And here in Illinois, and if you're not from Illinois, you have to remember that Barack Obama was from Illinois, Hawaii at one point, but he was from Illinois. And after he was elected, the Koch brothers, which there's only one left of, got so mad that they formed the Tea Party, and they poured millions of hate dollars into the state of Illinois,
That's the best
whipping up
description I've ever heard of
whipping
it.
up
Hate dollars. Yeah.
hate dollars, and whipping up the bigots, whipping up the racists, whipping up the whoop-ass idiots, and connecting Obama with he's going to get your guns and he's going to take away the ability to farm and anything that could be a hot button issue in Illinois. The Koch brothers stirred it up and poured money and fuel on the fire. And these Millers, these people were right in the heart of that. That's a really red part of Illinois. In their entire county, they have fewer people than live in some of the Chicago suburbs. So over this big, gigantic amount of land, it's like 40,000 people. And most of them, like 97%, are white. So they don't have a lot of exposure to other races or cultures, religions, anything. So
And then we
all
have
they
to
know,
throw in on top of it the religious divide,
well, yeah,
gerrymandering,
Yep.
which is done specifically to keep all of the Republicans in the southern part of the state and maybe nip a few here and there
Yeah.
toward the north, which is the area that Heidi's talking about. And we also have to talk about lack of information down there. We've talked about this many times that
Yeah.
yes, there's racism, and yes, there's blatant racism, and there's white privilege, and they're all idiots, but I think a lot of them don't know any better or
They just don't
understand
know.
because they don't have access. So remember, down there, you've got a lot of wide open space. You don't have internet access. You don't have
A lot of
5G.
cows.
Sometimes cell phone services, you can only use a local service provider
Yeah.
to get service. And the only radio you get is conservative talk radio or Christian
That's it.
broadcasting, which is typically evangelical. So they're constantly inundated with everything. And we've met young men who felt exactly like we're describing, that grew up in Iowa or Wisconsin in that same environment, that didn't know any better until they got
Illinois.
exposed to more. So I think that's
Yeah.
so. But
When you
anyway, the
don't-
evil Tea Party came in, and they.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got off track.
Well, no. Well, the evil Tea Party came in. The Koch brothers, who, their whole impetus, number one, is they're very, very racist. But two, because they knew that we had to turn away from fossil fuels, and we've known that since the 60s. My dad was talking about it as a pollution control engineer, about the damage that fossil fuels and coal in particular. My dad, who was always a Republican, was telling me back then, we're going to have to turn this off because we can't fix our environment without turning that off and finding alternative source of energy, which my dad was really big in nuclear. So that's also how I learned about nuclear power, but another rabbit hole. But what happened is that the Koch's whole empire is based on fossil fuels. Their whole empire is based on what you can burn to operate your vehicle, to heat your house, to whatever, cool your refrigerator, what you can burn to get those kilowatts. So they did not want to lose their empire or any dollars from their empire. So they formed this Tea Party, and they used the ACA, Obamacare, if you will, as an impetus, because the right white might would have to allow everybody to have health care, including people that weren't white, right? So, and that argument still goes on in places like Texas, where they didn't take Medicaid expansion under the ACA. And that's a whole nother topic we'll do on a different day. But what happened is in these white communities downstate from where I live and further south and west, they pumped this money in and they pumped the hate in. They really worked them up. And they've created this incubator for incubating hate and resistance of anything that is democratic, anything that is not white, anything that is not Christian, anything that is not whoop-ass stupidity. You can't even imagine. I have to deal with people like this all of the time. When I was knocking doors in my community, when I was running for office, I'd knock on their doors because they would vote in the Democratic primary specifically so somebody would knock on their door so they could confront them. And this is like a game for them, right? So in walks the Miller family, or the Tea Party walks into their life, which morphed into the freedom movement. And if that's not angry and bitter enough for you, you get into groups like the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys and the Three Percenters and the other deep-seated paramilitary style hate groups. And the Three Percenters that Chris Miller is associated with, and he has spoken in front of their backdrop, and there's pictures that exist of this long before the mysterious charger plate sized decal got onto the back of his truck. God, how did that get there? Long before he got into that. This is the same group that tried to kidnap Governor Whitmer up in Michigan. This is the group he is part of. This is the group he is taking the decal down.
I didn't make the connection that
No,
they were a part
Yes.
of the. I thought they were a Michigan.
Well-
one. No. Oh.
No.
Well, you learn
No,
something
no.
new every
And-
day.
They have chapters all over, and the chapter here in Illinois is the one that came down hard on Governor Pritzker, our governor, his daughter, and made up. They photoshopped something of her like partying somewhere, which was totally not true. And she's just a little kid. I've met her, But that's why he was so threatened, because if they threatened Governor Whitmer and almost got away with it, I would say there were 40%, 50% there, right?
So
They were in the
let's
Capitol building.
let's rear back just a second on that.
Sorry.
So we know that Mary Miller, Congresswoman Mary Miller, quoted Hitler at a Women for America rally that was co-sponsored with Women for America, Moms for America. So we need to hit on this a little bit.
Oh my
Okay?
God. Yeah, let's
So
go
they
back
were
to Mary Miller.
co-sponsors of the rally, and this organization, Moms for America, it was really scary and a whole separate set of rabbit holes, because
Yeah.
Heidi and I have been doing this right-wing series, and we're seeing and reading a lot more about the WKKK and the Mothers of Resistance. And it is exactly the tactics that they used back in the days, but it's almost like they got smarter. So the KKK wanted a women's group so that the lady folk could have something to do, and they turned out to be far more powerful and influential.
Baking
But the men
pies,
folk got
cleaning the robes.
irritated because they got a little too big for their britches and wanted some autonomy, and so they disbanded them. Well, this group has been created in order to keep women very satisfied with servants to their government, service to liberty, service to patriotism, and service to God. And to be a good mother is to institute these values and fight for these values. And it's just a fancier way of doing exactly what the WKKK did. Now, these groups are prolific, but this one is particularly disturbing because, like, all right, I gotta just read. You
Oh, please. You have to hear this.
too can be a mother for America, Moms for America member, if you take a proclamation and pledge for the preservation of liberty and virtue. I'm not going to bore everybody. It's a very long, it's a long spiel.
Yeah.
But some of these paragraphs in here, overall, it is driven by right-wing Christian beliefs that we need to educate, that you will educate your children in a patriotic manner. There's
What does
even
that mean?
there's overtones.
What does it mean?
Like, oh my gosh, it's awful. Okay, so here's their first paragraph. As the mothers, primary makers of the home of America, the homes of America, and molders of the future of our nation, we declare that the liberty and freedom of all people begin in the home, if their husband lets them, and that a nation is but a magnified home. The values and virtues are taught within the family will determine the values and virtues of a nation as a whole. So think about that. Break that down, just that. The values that we all know this, right? We all know that this is a pretty much accepted standard. The values you give to the kids are the ones that they're going to grow up with. These guys want to take us back to 1929 as far as the values that they believe. You know, the whole emphasis is you know, women can be good homemakers. They can lead the future by being mothers and teaching liberty. The family unit, not that the government should never replace or regulate the family unit. It's this insightful language couched in all of these pretty little, like the second to last paragraph. As the lessons of history clearly demonstrate, we recognize freedom is very fragile. So what are they saying? You know, this is all basing on insurrection. So was it guys who did this, and this time they said, you can have your own little group, we want you to weaponize the moms? Or was it the moms who just decided to do it themselves? I mean, that comes down to the question we have, as always.
Well, in you know, and we need to look into that group further, and we will. But I was wondering if it was an answer to the Moms Demand group that came out in response to gun violence.
No.
Because this group is
This doesn't have, this is the, it's a different tone than the Women for Trump, now Women for America. It's a different tone, but it's that homeschooling conservative Christian, don't allow schools to teach anything that you don't believe mindset, which is not the same as some of the other ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. So, this is a national organization, folks. They have a PAC. They give money, they help women run for
600
office.
$600,000 they gave in the 2020 cycle. 600,000, all Republican women. They don't sponsor, they don't give money to anybody that is not Republican. Period. There's no Greens, there's no Libertarians, there's no Democrats, there's nothing, no independents, just Republican.
Oh, my love. I have got to tell you that I completely forgot to do a full screen there. But the other thing that I want to say about it is when we were digging into this organization, Moms for America, we looked at the executive board. Now, I live in Will County, and there was definitely an uprising about my county board member, Debbie Carlutis, who just won her husband's seat in the last election, was a member of the Moms for America. And she is actually an executive board member of this nationwide organization.
But Marie, what else does she do? What is her job?
Well, aside from being paid to be a Will County board member, she's also the in-district representative for State Representative Mark Batnick.
Oh, the connection.
Right. So the organization that Mary Miller, the organization headed by Debbie Carlutis, had rallies where Mary Miller quoted Nazis and then pretended that she didn't know, to drive to a rally in D.C. where her husband didn't vote for the votes he should have taken afterwards, because I guess they were still on vacation, in a 3% van with a sticker that he didn't know what it was about. And we're supposed to expect that none of this is connected, or nobody...
That all of this happened in a vacuum, Marie, and that if they are that stupid, they're too stupid to be serving the public in this manner. And the fact is that she had to, as I said earlier, she knew who she was quoting because she used the name of Adolf Hitler. He knew what he was doing with the 3% logo. Number one, if somebody brings you a logo and it's as big as a Charger plate and you stick it on the back, and I drive a lot of pickups. We have a lot of pickup trucks here at my farm. He has a lot of pickup trucks. But this one is his like parade vehicle, because he, the thing is that didn't happen in a vacuum, because this sticker has been on his truck for a while with stickers like Gun Save Lives and Stop the Steal and, Trump 2020 and all of that. That's his truck. That's his, I've got one farm truck that is so covered in bumper stickers, but on the opposite end of this truck, they're like the ACLU ones and Move On ones, But he has had this truck billboard that he drives around for a long time.
It's not even that. It's the fact that he had it on. And what I found kind of interesting was, I wonder if the Congress members, the GOP members, oh, Heidi, I'm losing you.
I know, you stalled out on me, Marie. You came to a grinding halt, and I'm not sure why, but Mark Miller.
So wait a second.
Chris Miller, sorry, not Mark Miller.
Right,
Mary Miller. Yeah. Okay.
He
Go ahead, finish.
And his wife went to Congress. She had been inaugurated or seated as a Congress member 2 days before. He is an Illinois State House member with the 3% sticker. And that van is at the Capitol. And today, it was funny, because when we were interviewing Christopher Wray, or not interviewing, we weren't interviewing Christopher Wray, when the Judiciary Committee was questioning Christopher Wray on the failures of the FBI today, two of the Republican senators really asked an awful lot about GPS location. Was the FBI using cellular data to decide to find people who were at the Capitol who were there. Were they using GPS data to find
I
people
sure
involved?
hope they were.
And Christopher Wray would not give a straight answer, but my mind went to Mary Miller and the news that her husband's truck was posted. It was in front of the Capitol. And
Smack dab in the front.
he has this big sticker. We know it. He says he doesn't know it. Just like she didn't mean anything bad by quoting Hitler. I mean, come on, what bad could happen if I quote Hitler? You know, he didn't know anything about the 3% circle except at a campaign rally in May. He's speaking in front of the 3% circle.
Of their banner.
He is
of their
supporting
backdrop.
them actively. So right now, you've got a U.S. Congresswoman who's been there for, what, a month? You have an Illinois Congress representative who has been there for only 2 years. He came in 2018.
Right.
And a Will County board member who are all a part of this hate group organization, Moms for America, and who all foster this hatred. Now, we have, now Debbie, again, works for Mark Batnick, an Illinois state rep. Now, in Illinois, there's far fewer Republicans in the state house than there are Democrats. So all of them know each other because they work together. And it's just so funny how Debbie, one of the board, executive board members of Moms for America, who got
Bring
the
it home,
money
Marie.
to Mary Miller, and Chris and her boss, Mark Batnick, work together. Do you think there could be any crossover there? And when approached with this, Mark Batnick refused to do anything about it. He said it was her personal time. She didn't violate any rules. Instead of working, she had the day off. But he ignored the fact that this brainwashing WKKK group, she leads. So he knows. He's just as involved.
Yeah. Well, Mark Batnick has been a reprehensible member of our Illinois House for quite a while now, and with the gerrymandered districts that we have here in Illinois, I don't know that that's going to change. We have a public meeting for my county on the gerrymandering or the redistricting. They didn't call it gerrymandering because it has gone in the favor of the Democrats. We know that how our state is drawn does on a state level.
And let's be honest, Democrats gerrymander too. We always talk about gerrymandering.
Yeah,
and
I just
hear
that's
about
what
it.
I was just saying.
It's that's what I'm trying to say. Is we talk
in
about
Illinois, it's our thing, and we have new leadership now in Illinois, and I don't know if that's going to change or not. I honestly don't know. And we thought about doing a show about that today, but we know that we go outside of Illinois so greatly. So much of our stuff leaves the airwaves, go out everywhere. And I know that, that's not, Illinois is a little island, blue island unto itself sometimes. And it runs very well. Thank you very much. By the powers that be that have gerrymandered us into this type of prosperity. So it's a double-edged sword.
It is.
I hate gerrymandering.
I do think that fair districts are extremely important. And
I think
without fair districts, you only get these cocoon echo chambers. You only get that same ideology, which is the problem down south. You have the Tea Party came in feeding on insecurities, racial division. Chris Miller puts $200,000 in to run for office, gets into office. His wife becomes a congresswoman. So the whole thing is that by letting that happen, we are actually damaging ourselves for the future.
Marie,
it may be
you
good
talked about
in some ways. I'm not disagreeing, but I think it should be fair and equitable all around. And that doesn't mean favor Democrats.
No, it doesn't mean that. It means that we have to favor the people of the United States, the people of Illinois, and allow them to make decisions based on fair maps. And
so here's what I say. I say Mary Miller and Chris Miller need to be removed
not
from
reelected.
office. Yeah, that they can't be removed from office. Here's the thing I was thinking about. You realize what a crock of crap this is, right? You get elected for an office, and pretty much there isn't a damn, you get a guaranteed job for whatever that term is. Isn't a damn thing they can do. And you're pretty much
No.
in it forever. So just
We talked
imagine
about
how
we talked about that
delightful
with
that is.
the Sheriff's Association. It's as bad as some of those CSPA sheriffs are, cesspool sheriffs, did we call them? You can't, there's nothing you can do about it unless you want to have a recall initiative. So no matter what the Millers did, now they could be stripped of their committees. They can be censured. There's things like that, but there's really not a lot. In the state of Illinois, or the Illinois Democrats are putting together some legislation to do some censoring of Chris Miller, and rightfully so. And the thing is, though, is that we're coming into a gubernatorial election next year, in 2022, and they're from the same part of Illinois that spawned
Darrin Bailey.
And
Jinx.
Darrin Bailey is, and the same thing with the Millers. They're corporate farmers, and unless you know how that works, and I'm a farmer too, but I'm in the equine end of it in organics. We don't get subsidies. Nothing. There's nothing that comes from the federal government for my end of agriculture. And I'm not sure I would take it if it did, because it's just not how I like to operate my business. However, corporate farmers live on farm subsidies. They live on that. This is one of their major sources of income. When you talk about Darrin Bailey is a multimillionaire. So are the Millers. They have lots and lots of money. A lot of it is federal farm subsidies and crop insurance that has fostered their finances. The fact that they don't pay taxes, because a lot of times those farms are in trusts, so they don't pay taxes like we do. When they talk about restructuring and they talk about the death tax, well, most farmers have their plots of land in these trusts so that they can change hands, but they never have to pay taxes on them. So, but they count on them for their votes, and they buy their votes. The Republican Party buys their votes repeatedly with farm subsidies. And, we were talking about it beforehand. When you have a corporation that doesn't pay taxes, that gets subsidies from the federal government, by and large, these subsidies are the same no matter who's in office, Republican or Democrat. Historically, if you go back over the course of time, they do a little bit better under Democratic administrations than they do under Republican. But the Republicans are really good at steering the message. It's steering the message about markets and about chemicals and about pollution and that sort of control. So when I looked up Murray earlier today, I went down the rabbit hole of who got what farm subsidy. And in 2019, because of what Trump did with jacking around the markets, into that little county that the Millers are from, they got $447 million into a county with about 46,000 people. That's how much federal money poured into that county. So there's a vested interest for Mary Miller to be elected into the House of Representatives.
On the Agriculture Committee, which she is on.
Ag Committee. To steer those farm subsidies not only for her and her husband's farm, but also for Darrin Bailey's farm. This is a huge problem because they don't have. I don't know what Batnick does. I thought he was an accountant, but we'll look that up.
Joking.
Is he?
Yeah.
So,
well, it seems like a lot of those farmers down there are crooked MFers. Well,
the thing is after the farm collapse in 1980, we had to do something to make sure we didn't lose more farms. But what Trump did with the tariffs caused the collapse of the dairy industry, and that's a whole nother show that we'll probably never do. Yeah, I think we did cover that before about farm bankruptcies, and it's not the big corporate farms. It's not the Darrin Baileys and the Millers that go through bankruptcy. It's little farms. It's the not not corporate farms. It's the little
Because they're the ones
40
not
acres.
getting the
It's the little
subsidies.
50
They're
acres.
the ones that
They're
are
not
not
getting
being
the
encouraged
level of
not to
subsidies.
grow due to
Right.
weather or oversaturated market or because the
Well,
prices aren't there.
when
So, there's so many factors
when
that
you
go
look
into
at
it. But the point is that the Millers are
yeah,
corporate farmers that have made their money.
yeah,
And Chris Miller bought his election himself, him and
yep,
another gentleman who we'll do a little more digging into as we go further. Mary
yeah.
Miller was elected to protect the county and their own financial interest.
And yeah, this is, I mean, it's got so many fingers and it's so wide and so deep. We're just scratching the surface. But when somebody can come up with $200,000 to put into their campaign, Murray and I both ran for office. You cannot work when you're running for office because your job is to run for office. You can't, Murray and I are average income people. We don't have $200,000 to pour into our campaign. So we have
But down
to
there, you
work.
only
So you're
need
trying to work.
$200,000 to win a campaign. Ha!
I know. Hey, I
So,
did mine on
but
29,000.
keep in mind that not only are these all connected to the Tea Party, but they're all connected to Trumplicans and to the stereotype Republicans want women to adhere to, which is this Moms for America. The damage that they're doing, it's like, do they get, I was asking Heidi, do they get recruited? Do they decide they want to do it? Or is it a husband club? Do they have to be initiated? Like, the entire thing is so
Stepford Wives?
Stepfordy and creepy, but the influence that this has is far reaching. County board members head up this crap. Congresswomen endorse and speak at these places, which gives it's really, really frustrating on a whole feminist level, which we'll talk about again later. But
Yeah, it's terrible.
we just wanted y'all to know we do think about Illinois. We're not always national. And the Mary Miller, Chris Miller
How
connection.
embarrassing. How
And
embarrassing.
they just don't know anything, do they? They're just never, they didn't know it wasn't right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I said,
You would think that
I said
Moms
it
for
hurt, but I didn't
America
mean it.
would
I
have
what that
told
meant.
them that that wasn't right.
Because they're
You
all
would
about
think Debbie
education.
Carlutis would have said that wasn't right. Yeah, my
Right.
ass. All right, folks. So thank you so much for tuning in today. We gave you an unpack and a connection of how insidious the Republican Party is in Illinois at your state and local and national level. So when you think it's only one, it's all connected. Again, tune in on every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. to hear us live, but you can catch all of our previous episodes at Heartland Mamas.
MAMAS.com on YouTube, Demcast USA Network on all podcast streaming platforms, and we'll see you here Thursday, 3 o'clock with another great show. See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm trying to find my buttons.